what exactly is dyspraxia? So to convey this, think of dyspraxia like a house. So just imagine it, but this is a unique house because the lounge right in the center, that represents, what does it represent? Well, it represents gross motor and fine motor skills. It's where challenges are most visible. In this room, everyday tasks like buttoning a shirt or riding a bike can feel like a mountain, and there's often other struggles like using cutlery, writing neatly, catching or throwing a ball, navigating stairs, typing on a keyboard, cutting with scissors. You get the point. But also there are other rooms in the house. They're just less visible, but just as real. So they're less visible, but they're just as real. So what are these what are these rooms? So one room holds poor working memory. Names, dates, instructions slip through like water. Another room is filled with organizational chaos, messy desks, forgotten appointments, and missed steps in multi-stage tasks. Yet, if you explore a little bit deeper, just a little bit deeper, you'll find the hidden beauty of this house, and that's why it's unique. There's a room, for example, of vibrant creativity, bursting with ideas, storytelling, and unconventional thinking. Another room is for creative problem solving, where the ability to think outside the box actually becomes a superpower. And then there's the room of existential intelligence, a quiet, thoughtful space where deep questions about life, meaning, and purpose, they live and breathe. Because dyspraxia isn't just about the struggles, it's a house of contrasts, messy in places, brilliant in others. And once you learn to navigate the layout, it becomes easier to appreciate the full architecture. And that's a creative way to explain dyspraxia, also known as developmental coordination disorder, also known as DCD, which in effect is a neurological condition that impacts motor coordination and planning. It isn't a muscle issue. Let me repeat, it isn't a muscle issue. It's a communication issue between the brain and the body. People with dyspraxia know what they want to do, but the execution gets tangled. So the execution gets tangled like a blueprint that forgot to tell the builders where to put the staircase. It affects fine motor skills like writing or buttoning a shirt, as previously stated, and gross motor skills like running or jumping. But it also affects organizational thinking, speech, and sometimes memory. But there's also these other great aspects, potential aspects like creative thinking, out-of-the-box thinking, existential intelligence, etc. And let's clarify what dyspraxia isn't. It isn't laziness, it isn't low intelligence, and it certainly isn't something you can just grow out of. Why? Why can't you grow out of it? Because it's lifelong, but so is the potential. So here are 3 questions to consider when we talk about dyspraxia. Question number 1, what everyday tasks do you find more difficult than others, and why might that be? Question number 2, how might someone's strengths in creativity or problem solving help them navigate a world not built for their way of thinking? And finally, question 3, what's the difference between knowing what to do and being able to do it? And again, we're going to get figurative. Picture a Sunday dinner. Everyone passing dishes smoothly except one person. The mashed potatoes spill, the fork hits the floor, and the napkin ends up worn as a hat. That could be dyspraxia, hidden in plain sight. In children, signs include what some unfortunately refer to as clumsiness, difficulty with handwriting, trouble tying shoelaces, or struggling with sports. But it doesn't end there, because teens might avoid physical activity, feel anxious in social settings, or seem somewhat disorganized. Adults might experience chronic forgetfulness, difficulty multitasking, or a consistent sense of being overwhelmed by life's admin. And the signs, they can be so subtle: bumping into furniture more often than most, struggling to follow directions, or having speech that sounds flat or halting. Emotional symptoms include frustration, low self-esteem, and withdrawal. Because these signs often blend into the background of daily life or are misattributed to laziness or inattentiveness, dyspraxia is unfortunately frequently overlooked. So recognizing the signs is like learning to read between the lines of a song. You begin to hear the beat that was always there. So, like the previous chapter, here are 3 questions to hopefully aid some understanding. Number 1, have you ever known someone who's smart and capable but often seems disorganized or forgetful? Could there be more to it than meets the eye? Question number 2, what's the difference? What's the difference between being clumsy and having a motor coordination challenge? It's a great question. And finally, question number 3, how might hidden struggles with coordination or memory affect someone's confidence or social life? How the brain processes movement and where it gets tricky. So let's go into the brain's control room. Picture a conductor trying to lead a symphony, but the strings come in too late. The trumpets are on their own sheet music, and the percussion section, they just can't find their sticks. That can be dyspraxia in a neurological sense. Why? Because motor coordination is orchestrated by several brain regions. For example, the frontal lobe plans what to do. So when we take a person with dyspraxia, the messages between these areas are delayed or even scrambled. It's not that the message isn't sent, it's that it arrives with static. And with this disruption, it affects how movement is planned, and it also affects how it's executed. So what does this mean in a practical sense? Everyday tasks. What are everyday tasks? Well, brushing teeth or tying shoelaces. That requires precise timed sequences. But for someone with dyspraxia, the brain has to consciously think through what should be automatic. And of course, that's exhausting. That's very exhausting. So when people ask, why can't you just do it? The answer is, they are. They're doing it with the neural equivalent of a dial-up internet in a fiber optic world. And I say that just to point out the challenges that someone with dyspraxia can have in performing everyday tasks.